What we're about to share tonight could change everything. Kash Patel's promise to release that certain client list has sent shockwaves through Washington's power circles. We've got exclusive information about why Senator Dick Durbin is desperately trying to block Patel's FBI confirmation. But more importantly, we've uncovered evidence that Bill Gates is actively lobbying the Senate to prevent these files from seeing the light of day. The question is, what are they so afraid of? And tonight we'll show you exactly why certain powerful figures are in full panic mode, and believe me, the implications are staggering. And while the powerful elite try to keep you in the dark, your home shouldn't be left in the cold. Just as Kash Patel is fighting to expose the truth, you need protection against those who would leave you vulnerable. That's why I trust this revolutionary heating solution at staywarmnow.com. Don't let the energy companies control your comfort like the deep state tries to control information. Fight back against soaring heating costs with this innovative device. Visit staywarmnow.com and save up to 60% off with free shipping. Don't wait. Take control of your home's warmth today. Okay, lots happening on the front for the list. You know what list I'm talking about. Derek Evans posting this just 9 hours ago. Senator Marsha Blackburn confirms that once Kash Patel is confirmed as FBI director, her subpoena for the flight logs on that certain plane will be approved. And she's also pushing to declassify Ghislaine Maxwell's infamous black book of contacts and addresses. Release everything, expose it all. Let's go to Senator Marsha Blackburn. I met her at Mar-a-Lago. She is a lovely woman. Let's listen.
And that a large network of high-profile, high-dollar predators took part in this horrific abuse. That's why on the Senate Judiciary Committee, I've repeatedly requested a subpoena for the complete, unredacted Epstein flight logs from the FBI. I've also pushed for the release of Ghislaine Maxwell's unredacted little black book of contacts and addresses. The American people have the right to know who flew on his planes, who witnessed the crimes, and who potentially participated in his global sex trafficking ring. Yet time and again, in the last Congress, Democrat leadership and then FBI Director Wray stonewalled my request. Make no mistake, by blocking my request, they were delaying justice for Epstein's many victims. But now, with Republican control of Congress and President Trump back in the Oval Office, we're going to see some real change on this issue. Just last week, the president's excellent pick for FBI Director Kash Patel vowed to work with me in releasing the Epstein records and breaking apart the trafficking rings that harm countless women and children across our country. To be clear, this is not a celebrity issue. This is about ending modern-day slavery and finding out who is participating in these sex trafficking rings. And
it's on, folks. It's on. Yeah. Kelly K says, who's ready for Kash Patel to release the client list? I wonder if these guys are excited too. And here is video. This is from December 5th of 2023. Okay. This was also, you can see Senator Marsha Blackburn's watermark on the video. Also, November of 23. This is video of Democrat Senator Dick Durbin blocking the release of the client list. He announced he won't vote for Kash Patel, who vowed to release the list. Now Dems are delaying the vote. Is anyone seeing a pattern here? Okay, let's flash back to this moment from Senator Marsha Blackburn.
Jeffrey Epstein, I understand you made some statements about the Jeffrey Epstein flight logs. I had not spoken to you one time about this issue.
since we're in the business of issuing subpoenas now, here are a few more that I've filed. a subpoena to Jeffrey Epstein's estate to provide the flight logs for his private plane, given the numerous allegations of human trafficking and sexual abuse surrounding Mr. Epstein.
I understand.
Oh, yeah, it's on, folks. Remember when Tucker Carlson had this eye-opening conversation with Elon Musk back in October of last year?
Wins, but I think part of why Kamala is getting so much support is that if Trump wins, that Epstein client list is going to become public.
Yes.
And some of those billionaires behind Kamala are terrified of that outcome.
Yeah. Do you think Reid Hoffman's uncomfortable?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Gates.
And Gates.
Yeah.
And I only ask that because you just look at them and you're like, that's a nervous person right there. I don't know. I mean, I assume you know them. Yeah.
Yes. Reid Hoffman was my vice president of business development at PayPal.
Yeah.
24 years ago.
Does he seem nervous to you?
Yeah. I mean, he's terrified of a Trump victory.
Well, now we have a Trump victory. Oh, but here's his wife discussing their divorce.
I had nightmares about it afterwards.
Melinda French Gates opens up following her and Bill's divorce and the role Jeffrey Epstein played in their split. The power couple revealed last year that they ended their 27-year marriage.
Any of the questions remaining about what Bill's relationship there was, those are for Bill to answer.
That's Melinda sitting down with CBS Morning's Gayle King on Thursday, her first wide-ranging interview since the split announcement in May.
Divorce is a painful process, even when it's what both parties want. It still is a very painful, personal decision.
It wasn't one moment or one specific thing that happened. There just came a point in time where there was enough there that I realized it just wasn't healthy, and I couldn't trust what we had.
Among those contributing factors, Bill's connection to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The disgraced financier died in jail in 2019 while awaiting trial for sex trafficking charges.
You know, it was also widely reported that Bill had a friendship or business or some kind of contact with Jeffrey Epstein.
It's not one thing, it was many things. But I did not like that he'd had meetings with Jeffrey Epstein, no.
Mm-hmm. And you made that clear to him?
I made that clear to him.
Melinda admits she met Epstein and doesn't mince words about her first impression.
I wanted to see who this man was, and I regretted it from the second I stepped in the door. He was abhorrent. He was evil personified. I had nightmares about it afterwards. My God, I feel terrible for those young women. It was awful.
In a statement to CBS News, Bill calls meeting with Epstein, quote, a mistake that I regret deeply.
Oh, yeah, and he's going to regret it when when that list comes out. We're going to find out it was more than just dinner. His wife describes it as meetings. Here we have some more. This is from the Wall Street Journal. Bill Gates discussing his relationship.
Various people. Do you think, looking back at that moment, that you were being played?
Well, Jeffrey, in retrospect, I was foolish to spend any time with him, and he sort of, got time with various people by spending time with other people. So yes, I think I was quite stupid. I thought it would help me with global health philanthropy. In fact, it failed to do that, and it was just a huge mistake.
Has it made you more wary of connections?
Definitely. Yeah. Are you kidding?
No, you're not elected, but I think it's fair to say that you could probably pick up the phone to any world leader out there. Who's the last world leader that you spoke to?
Because of how engaged the foundation is in these global health issues, I talk to world leaders a lot.
Do you think?
Yeah. I wonder how many world leaders are on that list, too. Okay, we've got more to get into. Laura Loomer posted this 11 hours ago. Loomer Unleash asked Senator Durbin, the ranking Democrat member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, are you slow-walking Kash Patel's nomination because you're afraid Kash is going to release the flight logs?
Ranking member Durbin, are you slow-walking Kash Patel's nomination because you're afraid he's going to release the Epstein flight logs? Would you like to answer that?
Yeah, I think we got another angle. But here is Kash Patel talking about Bill Gates lobbying the Senate to prevent the list from being released. Here is your future FBI director.
We're not going to release that Bill Gates is lobbying Congress night and day to prevent the disclosure of that list. And why is it that the Senate, and good for Senator Blackburn to try to get it out, but then Dick Durbin comes over the top and says, no, we're not going to release the names. I don't care about the list itself, but if release the names, right? What the hell are the House Republicans doing?
Yeah, what are they doing? Maybe some of them are on the list as well. We're going to find out very soon, though. Okay, and here we have, this is Dick Durbin. This is the press conference that was held just 9 hours ago. Ian Miles Chong posting this. Dick Durbin, who blocked the release of the flight logs, is leading the charge to block the confirmation of Kash Patel to the FBI because Patel has promised to release the Epstein files. Let's listen.
To transcend. Next to the nominations of individuals to serve on the courts of our land, which are often lifetime appointments, this appointment of the head of the FBI is one of the most serious that the Senate Judiciary Committee should consider. We decided 50 years ago to depoliticize the FBI by giving 10-year tenures to those who headed up the FBI. To transcend any single administration or any single president. So that's one of the most important things that distinguishes this nomination from others. Secondly, we have an individual in Kash Patel who has published a book which in detail describes his view of politics in America. It is a book that is filled with grievances, filled with conspiracy theories, and filled with information of how he sided with the January 6 rioters against the police in this very Capitol complex. And so when he came to testify before the committee, we had some questions that he was asked and he needed to answer about his conduct. And we went through them, particularly on the element of the J6 choir. I know this sounds like a curious thing to spend any time on, but it's a reflection on his priorities and the fact that he's asking to head up the most important single law enforcement agency in the United States at a time when he decided with the so-called political prisoners of January 6th instead of the brave men and women who risked their lives to protect us here in the Capitol complex. He created this musical undertaking and was proudly proclaiming it to Steve Bannon, how the hard work he went to master and digitize it and create a musical work that can be played at the Trump rallies. When we asked him about him in the committee, he couldn't remember any part of it. Didn't know who the singers were, wasn't sure what I was talking about. That kind of evasion betrays the fact that he sided with the prisoners when he should have sided with the police. And that, I think, is something that's going to haunt him as he pursues this position with the FBI. I then asked him about a fellow named Stu Peters. I don't know Mr. Peters, but he supposedly is a neo-Nazi, anti-Semitic person, political theorist who has some sort of a podcast. Well, it turned out that Mr. Patel couldn't remember Stu Peters. Stu Peters, who would he be? Well, he appeared on his podcast 8 different occasions. 8 different occasions, couldn't remember him when I asked about him. You know, I have to question whether or not this man is really ready to take over this job and to guide these men and women who dedicate their lives to the safety of the United States. Something has happened since his testimony, of course, and that is the beginning of the Trump administration and their approach to the Department of Justice. Whether it's the Department of Justice or the FBI, they are now in the process of trying to rewrite history. They want January 6th to turn out to be a much different event, a whitewashed event in history, as opposed to the terrible embarrassment and disgrace that it was that day. And so they're going through the personnel of those 2 departments, Department of Justice and the FBI, and asking which individuals were involved in the January 6th case, as well as other prosecutions that might have involved the president. Sadly, we think this is a portent of what's to come, where these people will be punished or even dismissed because of their involvement. That is an outrage. that these men and women who work for the Department of Justice being asked to be part of one of the largest criminal prosecutions in our history now would lose their jobs over it or somehow be stigmatized is just plain wrong. But it's an indication of what has happened with this Trump administration kicking off their idea of justice. Next.
Okay, so there you have the reasons why he thinks that Kash Patel should not be nominated. Here's another angle of Tricky Dick. Now, he's my senator, being asked some questions.
I don't know anything about
why won't you subpoena Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs?
So who are you?
Hillary Vaughn with Fox.
With Fox, of course. I don't know anything about his flight logs.
But why won't you subpoena them? Why don't you want to know?
I don't know the issue. I know who Epstein was, but I certainly don't know anything about the issue.
Well, he was charged with sex trafficking, so why don't you want to know who was utilizing his private plane?
Never been raised by anyone.
Well, Senator Blackburn has wanted to subpoena them, and there hasn't been a vote in your committee.
Said a word to me, not a word.
But aren't you curious, like, what high-profile or powerful people might be closeted predators and pedophiles? Doesn't that concern you?
Of course.
So why won't you subpoena them if you can?
It's the first time anyone has raised it. Thank you, Fox.
So are you curious about it?
Oh, wow. Talk about some direct line of questioning. Oh, man, he is on the hot seat now. Here's a clip. This is with Glenn Beck, Kash Patel, talking about the flight logs. Glenn Beck with Kash Patel.
Who has Jeffrey Epstein's
Black Book?
Black Book.
FBI.
But who? That is, that I mean, there's...
that's under direct control of the director of the FBI. Just like the manifesto from the Nashville school shooting of the Catholic school. Yeah. We still haven't seen that, right? It's not the Nashville police or PD saying we don't want this out. The FBI airmailed into that operation and said this is not getting out. Because they do that because this is another government gangster operation. All these local law enforcement communities get funding from the DOJ and FBI for local programs. And if you don't cooperate, you're not getting your $1 million for this, and you're not getting and that's a lot of money to these local districts. That's how they play the game. That's why you don't have a Black Book.
But the Black Book, it's not just sitting. I mean, that's Hoover power times 10.
And to me, that's a thing I think President Trump should run on. On day one, roll out the Black Book. And not just that. On day one, roll out all of the text messaging communications we were told were deleted. On day one, play the rest of the video of the pipe bomber. On day, one of the reforms I talk about in government gangsters is you need a central node to be continuously declassifying. This is another thing they do. They overclassify. And I'm telling you, as a former number 2 in the IC, they overclassify 50% of the stuff there to protect the deep state. Oh, no, you can't see that. Nothing to see here. Gina was a master at it, of doing it. And we still haven't seen half of the Russiagate report that we wrote. Still under lock and key. On how the ICA was originally constructed. We put 10,000 man-hours against John Brennan's team that did it. And we found out why they came up with their bogus conclusion. But we couldn't sell it to the world because we couldn't talk about it. And the government gangsters came in and buried it. All of these things, there needs to be a continuing central power, whether it's the White House or offsite, that says, every request that comes in, just right out the door, as long as it's not a major threat to national security.
Boom. That's why they fear him so much. They're terrified of what is going to happen once he assumes power. This came out 11 hours ago. Kash Patel says FBI investigation uncovers 256 emails between Adam Schiff and Jeffrey Epstein. This is a massive scandal, and Schiff must be held accountable. Do you support a full investigation? Now, there was a community note on this. The FBI did not uncover any emails between Schiff and Epstein. And, of course, Snopes and PolitiFact both are the ones that are cited in this. So I want to make sure that this is very clear. Looks like some engagement farming to me from this account. And then here we have more with Marsha Blackburn and Kash Patel engaged in a committee.
Responses, their questions, and it has led me to one thing. Why are the Democrats so afraid of you?
I don't know, Senator. You'd have to ask them.
Well, I tell you what I think, and listening to their questions and your responses, which we appreciate, they know that you're going to go in and you're going to clean up that political cabal that has been over there for years. You are going to reposition the FBI to its core mission. You stated that earlier in this hearing, and there will be no more political persecutions and no more two tiers of justice. And they have liked having two tiers of justice. They have enjoyed it. And it has helped them, they think, in their political mission. They've enjoyed targeting Catholics. They've enjoyed targeting parents. But the American people have said they want no more of that. And our colleagues know you're going to clean it up. I want to talk to you about the Epstein case. I have worked on this for years, trying to get those records of who flew on Epstein's plane and who helped him build this international human trafficking, sex trafficking ring. Now, earlier, I urged then Chairman Durbin to subpoena those records, and I ended up being blocked by Senator Durbin and Christopher Wray. They stonewalled on this, and I know that breaking up these trafficking rings is important to President Trump. So will you work with me on this issue so we know who worked with Jeffrey Epstein in building these sex trafficking rings?
Absolutely, Senator. Child sex trafficking has no place in the United States of America, and I will do everything, if confirmed as FBI director, to make sure the American public knows the full weight of what happened in the past and how we are going to...
Their question.
Oh, man, that's why they're so terrified. That's why they are just absolutely freaking out, trying to block his confirmation. Here we have, I think this might be another angle of that clip. Actually, let's run this one. Dinesh D'Souza, 24 hours ago, newly confirmed U.S. Attorney General is calling for the Epstein list to be released.
Because we know he was on the plane, not only on the plane a couple times, multiple times. He traveled internationally with Jeffrey Epstein. And he was on the plane called the Lolita Express because it supposedly had a bed in there where Jeffrey Epstein had young girls. He has been a friend of his, a continuing friend of his for years and years. Contrast that with Donald Trump, who hasn't spoken to him in many years, over a decade, after he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago for bad behavior. So that's the difference there. And I think Americans see the two-tier justice system. But, we don't know. They're saying Clinton has not been to his private island, but he has traveled all over the world.
Now, that clip was actually before she was the Attorney General. So there is a big, big fight on Capitol Hill right now. And the swamp rats are panicking because they know what's about to come out. How many people on both sides of the aisle? Okay, this is 9 hours ago. Let's look at this.
Blocked a vote to subpoena Democrats continuing to carry water for dead child sex trafficker Jeff Epstein. Yesterday, we told you how the number 2 Senate...
Here's Jesse Waters on Fox News reporting this.
Dick Durbin blocked a vote to subpoena Epstein's flight logs. Durbin claimed he wasn't blocking the subpoena. They just ran out of time. Well, the Senate was back today, and they didn't vote on the subpoena. We asked his office why, and they said, again, the timing. But Dick wasn't even ready to hold a vote. He was in Chicago, cutting a ribbon at a battery plant. There he is. Now, Epstein had dirt on a lot of powerful people. He had friends in high places and knew secrets that kept everybody in line. And he's been dead for 4 years, but for some reason, the government keeps blocking the client list. Joining me now, whistleblower and former CIA officer, John Kiriakou. Do you understand why we can't get the flight logs?
No, frankly. There's no reason why we can't get the flight logs. You know, I used to be the senior investigator on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and we had subpoena power, just like Dick Durbin and his staff do. And all it takes is a signature, the signature of the senator. It can be given at 2 o'clock in the morning, or at 8 o'clock in the morning, or whenever he wants to sit down at a desk and sign the paper. So this notion that they ran out of time, it's just nonsensical.
Well, they're not going to be able to use that excuse forever. There's going to be time. No. And all they need is a John Hancock to get the subpoena. So they can't continue to come up with BS excuses because they're going to look as complicit as possible, and we're going to blow them up.
That's right. And they are complicit if they insist on this nonsensical policy. Look, he's dead. Jeffrey Epstein is dead. He's been dead for 4 years, and he's a convicted pedophile, a convicted child molester. What possible reason could there be to hide this information? How could this information not be in the public interest? You know, it's almost a joke, Jesse, when you think, well, it's not like Dick Durbin's constituents are demanding that this information be kept secret. What district, are those people running?
Yeah, I mean, his constituents are like, can you guys get the migrants out of Chicago, please? They're not saying block the logs.
There's no reason whatsoever to keep this information secret. This is one of those things the American people have a right to know. The American people own this information, and they have a right to its release.
And if you were on Jeffrey Epstein's plane, maybe you were innocent and didn't do anything, and you deserve the benefit of the doubt.
Just like Bob Kennedy. Bob Kennedy was on the plane, and he explained himself very well. He said, look, I was on that plane with my wife and with all my kids. We were on our way for Easter to Palm Beach, and Ghislaine Maxwell offered us a lift. And that was it. And that was true.
I'm sure everyone has a perfectly reasonable explanation. Democrats continuing to carry.
All right, folks. The battle over the client list has now reached a critical point. Senator Durbin's desperate attempts to block Kash Patel's confirmation, Bill Gates' late-night lobbying efforts, the sudden panic among certain Senate Democrats, it all points to something massive brewing beneath the surface. The FBI has the files, and Patel has promised to release them. But here's what everybody should be asking themselves. Why are some of the world's most powerful people spending millions to prevent this list from becoming public? What names on that list could be so devastating that they'd risk everything to keep it hidden? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Join the Truth Movement with exclusive Mag Avengers gear at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com.